Here we go. Here we go. Round 2. The Rockets versus the Clippers. We finally are getting an epic matchup in an NBA that is now a duo-based league. Elite duos are all across the NBA, and we're finally, for the first time all season, we're going to see 2 elite duos go head-to-head. Russell Westbrook, James Harden versus Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. What more could you ask for a Friday night on ESPN? Man, let's get right into this thing.
For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, from the capital city of the United States of America, Washington, D.C., ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome back to Journey of a Ballaholic, the best talk show for basketball addicts. I'm your host, General Hannibal X. Now, we're going to go ahead and jump right into this thing. I'm not going to waste none of your time tonight because it's a Friday night. And we're about to turn up with the Rockets versus the Clippers, round 2. I'm going to start with the Clippers because we finally got a chance to see their dynamic duo for the first time of the season just the other night against the Boston Celtics. A game that went to overtime and a game that showed just how the Clippers can flex their muscle when they really want to get defensive, when they really want to clamp down. They're tough. They are tough. When you've got Patrick Beverly as the head of that snake out front, and you got Kawhi Leonard on one wing, Paul George on the other wing, good googly muggly. This thing could get ugly from a defensive standpoint out there on that perimeter. And the Clippers, offensively, they didn't look nowhere near as good as they're gonna look. You gotta remember this. They combined, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard combined for 10 turnovers and shot 39% from the field. They struggled offensively. And they still won an overtime game against a team, the Boston Celtics, that coming into the game was 11-2. Now, some things that I saw from the Clippers that I liked and some things that I saw that I didn't like, we're going to jump into that. Because what I don't like about the Clippers that I saw, I'll start with that first. I don't like the your turn, my turn offense, specifically at the end of the game. Doc Rivers is too good of a coach to draw up plays in which it's one of us, it's your turn, you take the ball up top and try to get a bucket. Whether it was Lou Williams, whether it was Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. I want to see Doc Rivers, the Hall of Fame coach that he is, give him a little bit more offensive fluidity. Give him some weak side action. Give me something with all these offensive options that you have out there. Give me something better than that, Doc. I need something better than that. So it wasn't a lot to not like about that performance. That was one. I need better offensive sets. I want to see Paul George, and this is how I think the Clippers are going to be able to maximize on the talent that they have. I think somebody has to step back, and that somebody should be Paul George. And I saw a little bit of an inkling of hope that Paul George is willing to do that because he had 8 assists in that game. I think for the Clippers to be the best that they can be, Paul George needs to assume that Scottie Pippen role. Guard the other team's best player, allowing Kawhi Leonard, the Clippers' best player, to kind of rest some on defense, and offense be more of a facilitator. Play that Scottie Pippen role. Let Kawhi Leonard be the number one scoring option. And the reason I say that is not because Paul George can't score. He averaged 28 points a game last year for the OKC Thunder. He can score. He's just not as good of a scorer, and more importantly, he is not as efficient of a scorer as Kawhi Leonard. So if it's between those two, you saw at the end of the game where Doc Rivers put his trust. Lou, you take it. Kawhi, you take it. And I think that as far as who you want to put the ball in their hands, I definitely would go with one of those two to end games. Once again, Paul George can score, but I think he should accept more of a playmaking role. setting Kawhi up, setting Lou up, running the pick and roll with Montrezl Harrell to get him easy baskets. Play more of that Scottie Pippen role. In order for him to do that, and in order for the Clippers to excel with that secondary role that Paul George is to assume, that takes Kawhi Leonard stepping up to that number one role, being that guy that we've seen he can be. There's no question about, can Kawhi be the best player on a championship team? He's proven that. Undeniably proven that. The question is, can he do that with another star in his prime that basically plays the same position as him? So we've got to see. Once again, it was only one game, so it's a lot more that they got to work out. Defensively, they look excellent together. Offensively, they'll continue to get better. So I'm not worried about that. The Clippers have an issue, though. The Clippers have an issue. And that issue is, from my standpoint, it's that center position. They got a conundrum there. Zubac starts at center. And anybody who knows I'm a Laker fan, and I've said from the time that we drafted Zubac that he could potentially be Marc Gasol 2.0. The talent is there. He's got to continue to get the opportunity. And what we're seeing, he's only giving you about 15, 16 minutes a game. And I think part of that is two reasons. Number one, he's, cement-footed, right? So in that pick and roll, it's an issue. And that's what we saw against James Harden and the Clippers and the Rockets in round one. The first matchup between them two. He can't guard that pick and roll. When you're matching up with the Houston Rockets, James Harden or Russell Westbrook's going to have the ball in their hands 99% of the time. And they're looking to exploit the mismatch, which means they're going to call Clint Capella to come out and set a screen. They're going to put PJ Tucker in one corner, Daniel House or Eric Gordon in another corner, and they're going to run a two-man game. And one of two things are going to happen. You're going to either switch that and try to crowd the ball handler, or you're going to give up a lob at the basket. Zubac can't make that switch. So what they've tried to do is they say, well, we're going to play Montrezl Harrell at the 5 much more than we will Zubac. And I get that. Montrezl is a better player, specifically on the offensive end. But the problem is that Montrezl Harrell is 6'7". Montrezl Harrell at 6'7", with all his heart, all his toughness, all the tenacity, he has a problem scoring over size, over length. And Clint Capella has that. Game one, Clint Capella's size bothered Montrezl Harrell. Montrezl was 2 for 12 from the field. Clint Capella had 20 rebounds. And it wasn't just Clint. Tyson Chandler came in and had the same effect on Montrezl Harrell. Tyson Chandler had 9 rebounds, maybe 2 blocks. I think Clint Capella had 20 rebounds, 2 blocks. Their size and their length bothered the Clippers' front line. That's not going to change in round 2, in tonight's matchup. So the issue is that when you have Montrezl, who's 6'7", who truly should be a power forward, and in the 80s or the 90s would be a power forward, but in today's game, the power forward position is becoming extinct. A lot of people think it's the center position. It's the power forward position that's becoming extinct. I'm gonna explain that to you. The center position is still going to be there. You're going to have a dominant or a 6'11", 7-foot center on every team. It's the power forward position that is going away because you have to have one of two things. Either a power forward who's going to be a dominant defensive player, or a power forward who's going to be a stretch forward. And that's where you're seeing teams go. And that's what the Houston Rockets, that's the challenge that they present. They put a stretch forward and PJ Tucker out there, which opens up that pick and roll action between the ball handler and the big man who can roll in Clint Capella. So the Clippers, they try to do something very similar. They want to keep one of those big men, whether it's Harrell or Zubac, on at the 5, with either a combination of Patrick Patterson or a JaMychal Green as that stretch forward. The issue, once again, comes with the Clippers. How do you defend a pick and roll situation? How do you defend the paint where you know Russell Westbrook is coming, where you know James Harden is coming, if you don't have your best interior defender on the floor, which actually Zubac really truly is their best big man from a defensive standpoint. And half the time that he's on the court, or half the minutes that Montrezl Harrell plays, is what Zubac gives you. And he's giving you the same amount of rebounds and more blocks than Montrezl Harrell, and he's averaging half the amount of minutes. But they can't play Big Zoo. So they got to play Montrezl, who is a much, much better offensive option because he's just an above average finisher at the rim. So the Clippers, and this is one of the reasons why I'm not as high on the Clippers as I am on the Rockets. But here's one of the things that I think that the Clippers are going to have to do tonight to win this matchup. If you want to win this matchup tonight, it's a couple things. Number one, you got to limit your turnovers. The Clippers right now rank number 25 in the NBA in turnovers. You got to limit your turnovers. That's number one. Number two, you got to get on that glass, man. You cannot give the Houston Rockets second chance opportunities. You got to get on that glass. And they do it in a unique way because, like I said, they don't have elite rebounders. You know, there's nobody on the Clippers team who's, especially from a big man standpoint, is going to give you 10, 11, 12, 13 rebounds every single night, right? So they do it with Patrick Beverly, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. They're going to do it as a team. And they're one of the best team rebounders out there. Or rebounding team, should I say. They're one of the best rebounding teams in the entire NBA. So they do it as a team, and tonight they have to do that because the Houston Rockets are going to take more threes and they're going to make more threes. Here's another thing that the Clippers need to do. You got to figure out a way to keep James Harden, off the free throw line. You have to keep James Harden off the free throw line. If they can limit their turnovers, which will limit the amount of possessions that the Rockets get, if they can continue to battle on that board to limit the offensive rebounds to the second chance points, and if they can keep James Harden off that free throw line, the Clippers have a really good opportunity. Defensively, they're one of the best teams in the league. The Rockets are one of the best offensive teams, so you truly get a contrast in styles. Now, on the flip side of that is the Houston Rockets. And here's what I think the keys for the Houston Rockets is going to be. Once again, they take a lot of shots. They don't necessarily make a lot of shots. So this is what I mean. They rank number 24 in the NBA in three-point percentage as well as field goal percentage. Listen to that. Out of 30 teams, they rank number 24 in field goal percentage as well as three-point percentage. So they're not an efficient team. This is a team that's just going to get more possessions up. They're going to take more shots and make more shots typically. So how do you stop that? Number one, like I said, you got to keep them off the free throw line. But for the Houston Rockets to win tonight, it's a very simple formula. The Houston Rockets have to do what they've done all season long. Put the ball in James Harden's hand and attack. You're going to put the Clippers in a couple of tough situations. If Harden is able to do what he typically does, and Russell Westbrook is able to not have the brain fart to say, I'm going to go ahead in the first quarter and get four fouls, like he did in round one of the first game between these two. If Russell Westbrook's able to stay on the court, we've seen him take that secondary role, the same role that I think Paul George needs to take for the Clippers. Russell Westbrook has shown you he's willing to accept with the Rockets, which is I'm number two, you're number one. There is no question here. There is no I'm a battle for mine, you can get yours, and I'm gonna get. Now this last game that we just saw that the Houston Rockets played against the Denver Nuggets, somehow they got away from that because there's no game in which Russell Westbrook should take more shots than James Harden. That happened last game. James Harden has to be aggressive. If he is aggressive, he's going to put the Clippers in a world of trouble. This man is averaging 38 points a game. 38 points per game. We haven't seen anything like this. Kobe's highest was 35. Jordan's highest was like 37, 36, 37. He's averaging 38 points a game. And a lot of that comes from drawing fouls, manipulating the referees, playing within the rules that the NBA has. And he's the best that I've ever seen at creating that contact. If James Harden is able to get the switch that he wants, it's lights out. That's why in the first game, Paul George would have been a critical piece to the Clippers' success. Because number one, Kawhi Leonard cannot be your best offensive player and your best defensive player going up against an elite offensive option. He can't guard James Harden all night and then also put up the most points and be efficient doing it. You don't have enough energy. When Kawhi Leonard won his 2 Defensive Player of the Years, he was with the Spurs and he was a role player. He didn't have to average 25, 30 points a game. It's a lot of energy to do both. And as we're saying with his body is not made for a full workload, especially for 82 games during the season and then another 20 games during the playoffs. The Rockets have a unique opportunity tonight to let the NBA know Game 1 wasn't a fluke. The Rockets have a unique opportunity here. But it's only a couple ways they're going to get that done tonight because Paul George is back. And we're going to finally get that epic duel where we're going to see Paul George locked up on James Harden most of the night. I'm sure Doc Rivers is going to do it. He has to do that. Because anybody that was guarding James Harden in round 1 that wasn't an elite defender, he was annihilating them. And he's going to seek that out tonight. He's going to put Clint Capella, he's going to call Clint up, or whoever that Montrezl Harrell is guarding, or whoever JaMychal Green is guarding, or Mo Harkless, or Patrick anytime those guys are on the court, Zubac, anytime those guys are on the court, he's bringing their man up and say, come screen for me. I want that guy. Get this all defensive member off me. Let's get a switch. I want him on me. And if they make that switch, if the Clippers make that switch, he's going to go for another 40 plus points per game. If James Harden scores 40 tonight, they're not losing. They're not going to lose to the Clippers with him putting up 40 points per game because he's not going to do it all with jump shots. That means he's going to be getting to the free throw line. And this is one of the problems and why I think that the Houston Rockets are a bad matchup for the Clippers. James Harden, with his unique ability to get those fouls, means that the person guarding him is going to accumulate fouls. Paul George, that's you. That's you. Now you could try to switch and put Patrick Beverly on him because he did an outstanding job on him and is another tough defender. But if Russell Westbrook stays on the court like he normally would, unless he's getting 4 fouls in the first quarter, Patrick Beverly has to be on Russell Westbrook, which means you're either going to choose Kawhi Leonard or Paul George, and between those two, it should be Paul George. Can Paul George defend Harden without fouling? That's going to be key. It's not about outscoring James Harden. Paul George can't get caught up into that battle. Harden's going to take more shots, and he's going to make more shots than Paul George. If he doesn't, the Clippers are going to run away with this thing. But the fact that we're playing round 2 in LA on a night where the Clippers are bringing out those jerseys are just amazing. I got to give them credit. Whoever designed those jerseys, bravo. And we're going to get to see prime time, the first matchup of the entire season between 2 epic duos. Who's going to win that battle? Who's going to win round 2? My prediction, I'm going with the Rockets. I'm going with the Rockets to win this game on the road, and I think it's going to be a statement game. I think Russell Westbrook will go for a 20-point triple-double. I think James Harden will be 35 plus. And I think Clint Capella, I think he's going to give you a 20-15 game. He's had 5 straight games, Clint Capella has had 5 straight games with 20 plus rebounds. 5 straight games with 20 plus rebounds. Clint is becoming an elite defensive big man. He's number 4 in the league in rebounds, number 4 in the league in blocks. He's becoming an elite defender. I think he has another really solid game. And one of the missing pieces that the Rockets didn't have last game that they get back in this one is Daniel House, who's a 6'7", 6'8" wing player that can take on guarding a Paul George. You can keep PJ Tucker on Kawhi Leonard. And he can shoot. He's shooting about 44% from 3. See, the Rockets have guys that they can put as defenders, their main defenders on the Clippers' best players, that on offense they can rest and just stand in the corner and just rest up. Stand in the corner with your hands ready to catch and shoot. PJ Tucker in one quarter, Danny House in another quarter, and rest on offense while Harden and Russell Westbrook probe the defense. And then when they go back on defense, now you go use your energy, battle with Paul George, battle with Kawhi Leonard. Now, when Lou Williams comes in, he's a problem. He's an absolute problem off that bench. And the Rockets, will not have Eric Gordon to be able to counterbalance that offensive scoring punch off the bench. So the Rockets, they're at a deficit, when it comes to bench production. So Lou Williams First game, he had an amazing game. I think he's going to go for another 25 plus points tonight. They have no answer for him. Austin Rivers he can't guard him at all. Montrezl Harrell is the key though. He's the key because even though he comes off the bench, he's a starter for them, basically. He is their starting center, even though he doesn't start the game. Montrezl has to play better than what he did in game 1 against them. He has to. But can he? With that size, that length, can he? He's got 3 games all season where he's had double-digit rebounds. Just 3. And he's playing 30 minutes a game. He's got to get better on the glass. He has to get better at protecting the rim. And I'm not here to discredit everything that Montrezl does because I love his passion. I love his intensity. And he's a great finisher around the rim. I think he's giving like 73% from the field. So he's an efficient scorer on offense. But he's got to become a better player on defense. And once again, he's undersized. He's not like and I've heard this comparison, he's not a Draymond Green. Draymond Green could give you a double-double. He could average a double-double when it mattered most, which is during the playoffs. Every year the Warriors were winning championships, Draymond Green was averaging double-doubles and almost triple them, sometimes giving you double-digit points, 10, 11 rebounds, and still give you 6, 7, 8 assists, while giving you 2 blocks, 2 steals almost. So that's not what Montrezl Harrell is. And I think that's going to be one of the Clippers' biggest issues, as not just for tonight, but going on throughout the rest of the season. And more importantly, not even the season, during the playoffs. When you play teams that have those legit bigs, like a Joel Embiid, like a Giannis, like a Anthony Davis, a Joker, those guys, how do you match up with them? How do you match up with them? Those questions have to be answered as the season goes on. But for tonight in round 2, I'm predicting on the road that the Rockets are going to win 106-102. What do you think? Who do you think wins round 2 tonight? Rockets versus Clippers. Are you going with Paul George and Kawhi, or are you going with Russell Westbrook and James Harden? Just for tonight. We're not talking about a 7-game series in the playoff. Just for tonight. What's your pick? Go into the comment section below and let me know who you're rolling with for tonight's matchup. As always, I appreciate you for taking a look at this video. Please subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and tap that notification bell so that you can stay updated with the journey of a Ballaholic.